Alright guys, how we doing? I've got a game to share with you, which is, I think, quite instructive. But first, here's a little puzzle. So this is from I think a 10-minute rapid that I played last night. Black plays the move rook to f5. You can see material is equal. It's a very balanced endgame, but this is a blunder. But why? So I didn't find it immediately, but there is actually a forced mate in 2. And it continues with rook g7 here. The bishop defends the rook. So all of these squares are out. King is forced here, and then beautiful pawn to g4 delivers checkmate with a pawn push. So very nice one. Well done if you found that. So let's go on to this game. Now what's interesting about this game is that it's a 5-minute blitz, no increment. My opponent has rated over 1630 or 1640 at the start of the game. So spoiler alert, I do win this one. But let's go through it because I think it's interesting. A 5-minute blitz, and we have a Petrov. So against this, I generally play knight c3 because I don't really know how to play the Petrov. We get into a 4 knights, and I play the 4 knight Scotch. Now, I know Naroditsky has recommended this a lot. I know it's spicy. I know it's trappy, but I haven't really studied it. Maybe I should, because I'm likely to get into this position quite a lot if I face the Petrov as an e4 knight f3 player. We have takes, and clearly you can take back. This pawn on e4 is defended. Are we going to have a trade of knights? No, my opponent comes out with a pin. Now, in kind of Roy Lopez style, but reversed. So black is threatening to capture the knight, which is the only defender of this pawn, which could potentially drop this pawn. So very interesting. Here I decide to trade my way out of some difficulty, and we have b takes, but still we've got an issue with this knight being under attack and the only defender of that. So queen d4 I felt was quite active here. I don't think it's the best move though, and the reason is because I have the option of developing a minor piece. For example, bishop d3, the engine saying, and also preparing to castle. Okay, so not the most accurate move, but it's okay. But black needs to play queen e7 here. They don't. They hit the queen, and I step forward with check. So quite aggressive. Queen blocks, and we trade queens. So now black has lost castling rights. My knight here is still pinned. This pawn is still unprotected. So I push the pawn. And again here I can't take with a knight. So I defend my own knight, which is attacked twice and defended twice. But we can see if takes, I'm going to end up with double isolated c-pawns and an isolated a-pawn. He decides to take the bishop. I recapture with the queen, so now nobody can castle. And we have pawn to d5 from black, threatening pawn to d4, attacking the pinned piece with the pawn, which we obviously can't have. So I capture en passant, and he repairs his pawns here. Now I kick the bishop and recapture with the king. There's no queens on the board, so we want to activate our kings, centralize our kings. We've both got the same coloured bishops. I have maybe a slightly better pawn structure, you could argue, because I've got 2 pawn islands, whereas my opponent has the 3 pawn islands. His king is also on an open file. So bishop blocks that file, and I face off the bishop. And now rook h, e1, pinning the bishop, so bishop can't take here. King retreats. I centralize my other rook on the other central semi-open d-file, targeting this pawn. Rook defends, and now pawn to h3. So here, this is a prophylactic move. So I'm just preventing bishop g4, and now black pushes in the middle. I come here with an attack on the rook. He counters with a check, so the king retreats now. He gets his rook out of trouble, and now pawn to b3. I've got the opportunity to hide my king away here. Black's kind of hid his king away. which is maybe arguably what you don't want to do. Bishop comes in, attacking g2. I just push f3. So I've got 5 of my pawns now on light squares, and we have tension between the rooks on the open file. This is a very common situation. Nobody wants to really be the one to take. Although, if I do take, he can't capture back with the rook. He can only capture back with the king. So my opponent now pushes f5, and I decide to trade off and then give check, re-establishing my rook on the open file. And this proves to be decisive. King moves, and I push a4 because I'm quite happy that my I'm kind of safe from here. And if he wants to push here, obviously he just loses his pawn. But at times like this, you want to be gaining space up the board. Okay, we have a5 from black, and now I improve my king. I'm not scared of this because my pawn and my bishop both guard that square. The rook can't move onto the open file yet. He moves over to the f file. Now I decide I want to trade off bishops. Opponent declines. And now a key move. I drop my rook all the way on into my opponent's half of the board. I'm now attacking from the rear. Why? Because my king is guarding the entry point on e2. Now, he'd like to put his rook here, maybe, forcing my king away, but even so, I'm controlling that open e-file. Okay, he's got 2 minutes left. I've got nearly 3 minutes left. He wants to trade rooks. Okay, now, key point, pause if you need to. What would you play here as white? So it's white to move. And clearly there's a couple of options. One is to take the rook. Okay, so this is a mistake. The reason is that the king is the only defender of the bishop and the bishop is under attack. Maybe my opponent here should have traded bishops. In fact, he should. That's the best move. White's still slightly better. Rook d7 was the other move. But this is now bad because white has the initiative. So I actually find the better move, better than rook takes e7, which is rook d8 check. And now there aren't many options. If the king moves anywhere, then this bishop will fall either to the bishop or to the rook. The only other option really is to, so it's saying, rook d7 is best or least bad here for black. Otherwise it's king c6 or king e5 being the only other reasonable moves. He blocks with a rook, and now this is a simple deflection. King has to move away from here, and there we have resignation. Okay, but I thought that was very interesting. Not only because it's a good example of controlling the open file, and just really kind of grinding out a win in a tricky and knotty kind of situation. But I was amazed to find that when I playing against a 1640 here in only a 5-minute blitz, no increment, 94 accuracy for that, guys. Made one mistake in the game, and that mistake was to push this pawn forward. So what should I have done here? Again, developing a piece, right? We always need to think in the opening phase of the game, although, the queens are off the board, my opponent can't castle. After this knight actually came in, I ended up with these double pawns, and there was no real reason to do that. I could have done this. Even if he'd taken here at this point, that's not good, because actually now I can just take the knight because it's no longer pinned. So that's not playable. Another move earlier on, instead of moving this queen out, the computer here is saying again, develop, move your bishop out. Defend the pawn with a bishop and prepare to castle, like we said before. So I thought that was really interesting, but 94.1 accuracy and 2300, and look at that, right? It seemed like there was not much going on in that game, but my opponent played a brilliant opening, brilliant middle game, slightly inaccurate end game, and I've got blue lights, opening, middle game, end game, 2300. I will take that all day long. It's a very good sign that something pretty good is happening with my chess right now. So I thought I'd share that one with you. Hope it was useful. Hope it was instructive. No great fireworks, no great bells and whistles on that one, but even so, very satisfying to get the win. So thanks for watching. See you soon.